All right. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to be talking about calculating home values. I don't usually call it comparables because usually the buyer and the sellers don't use this language. This is realtor language. Realtor language uses comparables. However, that is the technical term that's going to be used by an appraiser. With the buyer and the seller, I'll actually say things like, hey, these are what's selling in your neighborhood. These are the neighborhood sales. These are the neighborhood solds. That's what usually I say, okay? So there's this right up here. This is called neighborhood sales. It's in our agent handbook, and it talks about how to go ahead and calculate home values. And even if you have or you don't have MLS, you should be able to figure out a home value of any property, okay? There's always a way to calculate, okay? You're gonna try to find the perfect comparable, the perfect match. That's gonna be the most ideal situation, but sometimes there isn't one, and you're gonna have to try your best to do it, okay? And here we go. Let's get started. So there is a Bay East video about how to use Paragon to go and calculate to find comparable sales. Okay. It's on this website here at bayeast.org, and there's also a YouTube video as well, so you can check those two out. Okay. Going through this write-up, I'm going to go ahead. We did this one. I wrote this up about a year and a half ago for a sale at 32207 Almaden Boulevard in Union City. At that time, it was a fixer, and it needed basically everything up to be updated. And the market condition at that time compared to today is pretty different. Okay, but I'm going to use this guide for calculating a home value of properties that we are in contract today. Okay, so take a look. These are the tools that we use. Okay, what are the property characteristics? And you can look up the property characteristics using RPR and Redfin. Okay, these are quick and dirty. These are not the only ways to do it, or property radar. RPR, Redfin, tax records, or property radar. Okay. I like property radar, but I like Redfin because it is quick and dirty. If you take a look on this screen, oh my goodness. Sorry, audience, you did not know that I was supposed to share the screen. Okay, here we go. Nobody complained. All right. So this is the write-up here, and this here is the Bay East link. This is a YouTube video. This is a property that we had done. These are the tools that we use: RPR, Redfin, tax records, property radar. This here is a screenshot of the RPR record for that property. Okay, so for today's exercise, we're going to calculate the value for 1775 McCandless. Okay, it's in Milpitas. So this is the guide, and this is in the practice. We're going to do this today. Okay, we actually are the contract that's pending, and so I'm the buyer's agent on this property here. Okay, so if you take a look at RPR, it'll tell you the room count, and this is especially useful if you're doing this for a listing because you don't have the information, right? You go to the MLS and find. Usually, you find those values in the tables, but they don't exist because it's not active yet. But if you're looking up information about a property, RPR, Redfin, see here, this is a 4-bed, 3.5 bath, 2135 square feet. You have that info there, okay? And when somebody's going to ask you, what's the value of the property? This here, this RVM, it gives you a number. Over here, it also gives you an estimate right here. Where's the estimate? Redfin estimate 1531. These are based off of algorithms, okay? A computer is very good at following rules. The programmer has created a rule to say, well, based on the information over here in this neighborhood, these are the values that we see, and we project the value. I mean, we expect the current value to be this. And that is all that the Redfin number is going to do, okay? Zillow does the same with the Zestimate, okay? It works best in perfect neighborhoods. And what I mean by that is a neighborhood that is completely consistent. Nothing is different from each of the units. Okay, because if you have a perfect complex, then one building is going to be the same as the next. They're all identical, but that's never the exact case. Some owner is going to want to change their countertops, want to update the floor plan. Somebody might have destroyed their place. Maybe one is rented out and needs full remodel on the inside. So you're going to need to find the top value of the property, and then you'll figure out the calculate and subtract out the value of the corrections that you got to put in. Okay. So in this case, based on a perfect algorithm, Redfin says the value of this property is 1531. For a quick and dirty is like somebody's going to ask you, so how much is my place worth? This is a good starting conversation. You can say it's worth probably about 1516. Okay. But is this the number that you need to win an offer? No. It all depends on the current market condition. In the current market, we are in a strong seller's market with multiple buyers. So I use this number here as the potential appraisal value. Okay. So based on all things, all algorithms, it expects this to be the number that it's going to be. But if you want to win, you're going to probably go 100 over this. Okay. But this number is not the number when we made the offer. The number when we made the offer, this was much lower. This was probably 147. Okay. So in the Santa Clara market, in the South Bay market, we were expecting about $100,000 overage. Okay, so I projected to the client that we should probably put about a 157 number at that time. Okay, so let's actually do the work now. Okay, so this is 1775 McCandless. We're going to go ahead and head over to the MLS, and we got to do it the correct way. Okay, so let's start with their search, residential search. So you're looking over here on this right up over here, you can see you got to look at the location. Where is this property? What is it? What's around it? And you can learn how to read a map. When you learn how to read a map, you can learn about different nuisances and what's it nearby things and stuff like that. Okay, so let's do that real quick. Okay, so maps, go to maps.google.com, type in the address 1775 McCandless. It's in this one here. Okay, and it's right here at this red dot. And you can see by the size of the markings here, all these buildings are like townhouse style. This is the complex that it's with. I see that there is a elementary school across the street. I see that it's near a freeway. So this here, it's bound by the freeway, McCandless, this trough, and this this canal. So this is defining the community. Okay, so you're going to need to find communities and which is going to be the strongest influence. So this is the actual community that it belongs to. Do I know the name of it? I don't. You can look it up. Okay, but let's go zoom out a little bit. I'm going to zoom out and we're going to see that it's actually part of a larger community. Okay, so the larger community is bound by this canal, Trade Zone Boulevard, and you can probably argue that it will include this little triangle down here, or maybe even this complex down here. Okay, and it will probably include the boundary will be Capitol Boulevard all the way back up to this intersection. Okay, so look for natural boundaries. Natural boundaries could be rivers, canals, freeways, train tracks, and things like that. The reason why we do that is because those boundaries are likely to be values for the property value boundaries as well. because one side of the freeway could be worth different from the other side. One side could have a better school district than the other. One side might have ocean view versus another. Okay. So you have to figure out where your boundaries for your calculation is going to be. And to me, it's going to be this triangle. Okay. Let's go back into Paragon. To do that, you need all actives, all pendings, all solds. And if you're watching me on the Zoom, I suggest that you do this on your own computer. Go ahead and open up Paragon and go ahead and do this for yourself too. Perfect comparables are properties that sold yesterday that are of the identical same floor plan. Okay, so 1775 McCandless, if the unit next door had the exact same floor plan and was sold yesterday, that would be the price of my unit, because how much value could change in a day. In today's climate, of course, there's a lot of inflation and demand is pretty high. So what's happening is values are increasing very quickly. Last year, it was a 20% increase in values during the course of the year. That is unreasonably high. Normally, we should be expecting about 3%, right? The rate of inflation, not 20%, unless 20% was the inflation. Okay, all active pending solds. And I want to limit my timeline to be 3 months. I know in this case, it's more than 3 months, it's September, okay? So we limit the closing date to anything after September. The reason I chose September was because the market started to improve at that time, and September was when the numbers started to just go crazy again. We don't want to go too far back because any sales that were like in the summer or the beginning of last year are irrelevant. An appraiser actually only cares about sales in the past 6 months. So if you have a tighter bracket of 3 months, you should be fine. Okay. I need to go ahead and mark my graph. I mean, my map. Type in the address. I never do what the appraiser says. Okay, the appraiser says, okay, appraisals look at things that are within a quarter mile. So when you do a quarter mile, it's not the radius. You can't just like do this. You can't just use the radius and just go, hey, look, there's a quarter mile. Okay, however, that is good, but then you see it crosses natural boundaries. Like, for example, this unit here might have a different value because it's on the other side of this water. Okay. So I don't use radius. I use polygons. So in this case, I'm going to draw a polygon. I'm going to include this time, actually. I'm going to draw all the way down to here. And I'm going to include this. I'm going to bring it back. So I got all this new construction because 1775 is newer. And I know that stuff down here is farther away than a quarter mile, but it was important because I wanted to see what else is around. Okay. So now I have this, go back to the criteria, and I have run the search. Okay, I need to say that it's a townhouse and a condo, townhouse or condo. Oh, that's basically everything. Okay, so if this number gets too big, if 73 units becomes too big, you can also then tighten the date. So instead of today is February, this is about 4 months out. So maybe we just go to since the beginning of the year. Okay. So, oh, no, this year, not last year. Okay, we've got 27. More reasonable. Sort by square feet. Oh my goodness, take a look at this. These are all pendings. That's so many. Let's just sort by status first. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 active. And we have 7, 10, 20, 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 18. 4 out of 18 is, what is that? 18. 4 divided by 18 is 0.2. We have basically 1 month. So if you take 4 divided by 18, you get 0.22. You get 0.22 or 0.25 month of inventory. So it'll take 1 week for all this inventory to be absorbed. That's the absorption rate calculation. Okay. So is this a hot market? Yes. Things go pending faster in a shorter amount of time, actually in very short amount of time, in a quarter of a month, basically 1 week. This inventory will be sold this week. It won't be here next week. That's what it means. Okay. Wow. And there's only been 2 that, yeah, because the time window was so short. So this is too tight. I don't have any sold data. So now I got to go back to the 09, 01, 2021. Let's take a look at this. This will be a little bit better. We have more data. Sort by square feet. McCandless is down here. Okay, so we take a look at this. So think like an appraiser. Uh, 2,100 square feet, 1368, 1.368 was the list price. So over here, 2000, this is the same size, okay, 243 Baja Rose, same size, but sold in September, sold for 1.43. So if I look at something smaller, let's say like this, 2067 Joshua Tree, sold in December for 1.54, and it was only 1979 square feet. So it would kind of imply that this one here is 200 square feet larger, should be a higher price than that 154. Assuming the conditions were great on both of them. Okay. The only difference is that this one here, 154, is brand new construction, because you can see that the date over here says 2021, and McCandless is actually almost 10 years old. So my suggestion to the buyer was, let's make an offer of 157. The buyer said, I must have it. I want to win. I don't want to lose. I don't want to shop anymore. Just get me the property. So they agreed with the 157. In fact, they said, let's go 158. They wanted to push it higher. Okay, so they pushed it higher, and then we made the offer. Okay, so but let's take a look. Appraisers also look specifically within the community. The community was McCandless. So over here, 1530 is within the community, McCandless, 2,077 square feet, sold for 134. So this could be dangerous because we're making a 157 offer for only 100 square feet larger. The appraiser is going to see that. The appraiser is going to say, you mean to tell me that 100 square feet is going to cost you $200,000 more? That's what the appraiser is going to ask. Okay, but you can say that the market is strong. The market is accelerating. It's climbing. You have values like 154 pushing higher. This isn't actually an ideal comparable because it's brand new. Okay, but you've got these other numbers. You got 143 over here. You got a 147 over here. So 147 for 2,400. So the appraiser is going to say, okay, fine. We'll just give you 1.5. Okay, so the appraisal. So that's actually what happened. The appraisal came back. The appraisal value for this property, McCandless, came back at 1.5. But Garrick, the buyer said, let's make an offer for 157. Yes. So we're making a 157 offer. That means there is a $70,000 price difference between our offer price and an appraisal value. That 70,000 needs to be paid in cash. So the buyer is doing 20% down. So 20% down at 157 plus the 70,000 extra to close the appraisal gap. Okay, so the market was very hot, and 157 was not the winning number. In this case, we were offering preemptive. We called the agent and say, agent, we're going to submit a 157 number. How do you think about it? Oh, we just submitted it. We submitted the offer, said, hey, agent, we just submitted an offer 157. Let's close this today. Let's see if we can do it. Will the seller accept our offer? The seller spoke, the seller's agent spoke with the seller. The seller said, that's a very good number, but that wasn't the number we had in mind. We had a 1.6 number in mind. That was a little bit difficult to swallow, because that also means the gap will be 100,000 instead of 70. My buyers were tired. They wanted the property, so we offered 1.6. We signed it and we got pending. So 1.6 with in mind the $100,000 gap. Okay. In fact, that's what the appraisal value came back as, and there we go. In this case, going back to the write-up, it's also sometimes important to look at the satellite, and let's do the satellite on this one too. This looking over the write-up is important because that way it kind of reminds you of things that you need to look at. So in this case, our property is right here. Let's go to the satellite, see what it reveals. Okay, it reveals that this is residential. Down here is a lot of industrial, commercial. So you're close to commercial stuff. Okay, if you work in this area, you know that Landis, Montague, these are major roads. 680 freeway is a major road. Capitol is also a major road. You've got a BART track right here. Okay, transit's close by. Moving this over a little bit, you can see over here you have some residential. These are small shoebox size images right here. Let's take a look. We'll zoom in a little bit. You can see the difference. Okay, when you're looking at satellite view, you can learn a lot about neighborhoods. These are single family houses. You can see there's a tennis court here, so it might be a community park. You see big blocks here. These are all commercial, and you see lots of parking space. That's all commercial. Okay, so my buyers is over here. You can see the color of the roof. Okay, they're all light tan color. So this is all in the same community. And things in the same community has significantly more influence in terms of price than anything outside of the area. Okay, so always look at the price inside the neighborhood before you look outside the neighborhood. Okay, there you go. Lovely. Okay, so going back to this one, Redfin says it's 1531. That is the more of a reference for appraisal value, not the actual price that will win, because this only looks at data in the past. Appraisals only look at data in the past. It does not look out of the future. Okay, so take a look over here. Take a look. Some properties have solar panels. You can see over here. Some have swimming pools. You can see over here. Over here. So those things also contribute to value too. Okay, you look around in the neighborhood. What else do you see? Over here, you can see those were mobile homes. Over here, you have an apartment complex. Okay, you look at the building. This was from Street View because this was a listing that we were working on. We had not seen the property yet, so we were estimating based off of limited information. We see here that you have some dead trees, which means the property was not well taken care of. We looked at it, and this was our polygon. Okay. Sometimes you need to do 2 levels. Okay, in a competitive market, or if there's not enough information, you have to expand your polygon, make it a little bit bigger, but be mindful that you are comparing the same apples to apples, right? Do they go to the same school? If you include a comparable from a house that's in a better school, then you have to make an adjustment. Okay, so do you have to increase or decrease because it should be better or worse? If you have more bedrooms or less bedrooms, if you have a feng shui problem, like here, do you have railroad noise? Do you have airplane flight path? Do you have stigmas? Is there death in the property? Was there a marijuana farm in the house? Was there a homicide, paranormal activity? Is there a cemetery next to it? Okay, these are things to think about. Other things are like, is it a coastal property? Does it have waterfront? Does it have a dock? Does it have, things like that? Those things all contribute, but everything starts with a baseline. So you could always improve or you could subtract from a baseline. Okay. Explain your data. So when you're talking to your client, you got to look at it. So this spreadsheet is what I send to my client. Okay. I send this spreadsheet to the client. I don't do the whole thing. I do a snip and clip. I do like from here to down here, like 10 lines of it so they can compare. And I say, well, looking at this data, what do you think the value should be? Okay. Looking at this data on this paper, on this spreadsheet right now, it's very clear that 1.5 is a reasonable offer. But 1.5 is also very predictable. In a rising market, everybody's going to predict what the same number. And if you put the predictable number, you're going to lose because it was predictable. So you'll need to pick another number higher than that. So if you know there's multiple offers, that means number one offer is going to be the predictable. The winner is going to be the one above the predictable. Okay. Am I confusing you? It's an art and a science at the same time. It's a science because you can calculate it. It's an art because you have to get a feeling for how crazy the market is, or how hot or how cold the market is. Okay, in this case, we're in a rising one, so we kind of have to bid higher. In a cooling market or in a buyer's market, we have to figure out how low we should put without losing money. Because if we put a lower price today, it could be lower, even lower the next day. I also use this data down here. This is used for comparing schools. So you want to make sure you're comparing the same to the same. I also use this data here. McCandless here, I said 3,400 views on Redfin, 122 favorites. This is some good information. A popular house will have about 1,500 views. So having 3,400 views means it's quite popular. Having 122 favorites is very strong. And if the numbers are equal favorites to equal X outs, that's a bad problem, because then you have polar. You have people that like it and you have people that hate it. Okay. So in that case, it's going to be less hot. It's going to be less attractive. But in this case, it's fairly attractive. You've got 122 favorites and 18 X outs. Okay, so that means there's probably about a quarter of the population actually doesn't like this property. Okay, so we will have competition, but just not super competition. This house actually had 4 offers. 2 offers were also preempt, which means the seller were reviewing offers before a due date. 2 offers were below ours. So I will presume 155. 2 offers at 155, our offer at 157, and then we had to increase ours to 1.6. So I think the final offers were 2 offers at 155, 1 offer at 1.6, and after we went pending, a 4th offer came in at 1.63. Okay, basically someone who was even more fed up with trying to win, and they're just throwing as much money at it to make it stick and get it before the rate rises. So they threw in a 1.63. You can't break a contract. If it's in contract, it's a contract. Okay. All right. That's how we did this one. Okay. Let's go to so then in this case, take a look at this. You see in this polygon, this was the neighborhood in which the property was at. But to get a very, very broad picture of the market, you sometimes need to do a larger polygon with a shorter time frame to see what the rest of the city is doing. The reason you do this because a buyer isn't always going to be looking at a very, very small polygon. The buyer is going to say, well, just get me something about $1 million within 3 cities. So there's an opportunity cost. So if I'm not going to buy this, what else can I buy? they don't have to buy that one house that you got. They don't have to buy 1775 McCandless. Maybe they bought something else. Okay. They can look around and say, well, let's take a look at this one that's pending, 1765 Ironwood. In fact, we did see this one. It's larger, but it was actually less attractive because the windows were very close to each other. We could see our neighbors. So imagine a primary bedroom looking into another primary bedroom, and you keep the windows open. Not a pleasant sight necessarily. So anyways, and also it was a little bit darker. This one I found out also went pending for 1475. So it seems reasonable. 1475. Ours was pending for 1.5. I mean, appraised at 1.5. Okay. So theirs probably has 0 appraisal gap. Okay. Let's take a look at another property and let's do a different MLS. Okay. We're going to go to San Francisco MLS because we're going to look at a San Francisco property. Log in again. The same idea. The idea here is you need to look at all active pending sold, similar property type, quarter mile, within the past 3 to 6 months. That's the criteria. And if you understand that, you can use any MLS, you can use any source data. So for example, if I was doing this in Tennessee, I could use Redfin and Zillow to go calculate my values. I don't have to have the MLS. However, the MLS will make it a lot easier. 8141. Do I remember my code? I remembered it. Okay, let's go. Next property. Just that it's a different MLS, the data is organized a little bit differently, and you just have to learn how to navigate. But once you get the concept, it's not too bad. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to do a map search again. We always do map searches because Polygon is the right way to do it. Okay, 600 Alvarado Street. Let's take a look. Okay, this here, oh shoot, wanted to do that again. 1775, this one here. 1775 Alvarado. And I wanted to show you the reason why some people said no. So this here is the street view. Okay, the property is right here, I think. This is actually good because you have these trees that actually prevent sound carry. Okay, but this here is a busy street, and some people don't want to be facing a busy street. Okay, and you have a school. So some people don't want to be next to a school because you have school drop off. Parents bring their kids to school, and this whole intersection could be a big mess during school hours. Okay. It turns out that the time that we were there, outside of school hours, outside of 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock, very quiet street. It's not a problem. It seems like it's a bad problem, but it's not. In fact, this road is very low very few people travel it. Okay, San Francisco MLS. Put the address. This is our property. Zoom out. Okay. Now you see labels of the neighborhoods. I have Dolores Heights, Eureka Valley, the Castro, Noe Valley. So you may not be super familiar with it. And I'm not either. And I won't say that I am. Okay. But it's at the border of these two neighborhoods. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a polygon. Probably about here. I think market here is going to be the boundary. Go to here, and just go to there. I don't see anything. Try again. I don't know what's not showing up, guys. Okay. So this is my boundary right here. I don't want to include this yellow here because that's actually a walking district. So you got a lot of commercial. People don't want to necessarily live on walking districts because it's too noisy or too much traffic. So that also affects the desirability of those. Okay. Okay. Search criteria. Residential, yes. Active. Coming soon. Contingent no show, hold, pending, closed. Not August. We're going to change that to September. Okay. And then property type. It's going to be condo and tenant in common. Okay. Because it lives like a condo. All right. So that is our choices. There's supposed to be a blue box here. You can't see it because I think it's not drawing properly, but you can see that the properties are within this range. Display, one line grid. Sort by square feet. Okay, sort by square feet. And we have this property right here, 600 Alvarado 2, listed for 850. Your MLS reports, you need to set them up so that you can see the list price, the close price, the close date, and the days on market. If it's best if you can set it up like exactly like this. The reason is because you want to see what price it came from. Some MLSs only give you one date field and it's a, you know, and they have a combo shortcut field. And I don't like it because instead of, it'll show you only one price. Okay. So in this case, when I see the list price and the close price, or if I see two separate prices in two different columns, I can see the movement of the prices. Because if I don't, it might collapse it and say instead right here. So for example, this pending price might have, it might put the 1095 in the list in the close price category or in the sale price category. And that's not a right data because in San Francisco, these numbers are ridiculously wrong. Okay. They purposely market it so low. It's not even funny. Okay. 1.5 sold for 1.8, 1.2 sold for 1.5, 1.8 sold for 2, 1.2 sold for 1.4. You know, it's silly. Okay. Listing price is silly. So if these were all merged into one field, it'd be terrible. Okay. So we're looking at this one here, 694 square feet. That's great. It's the smallest one here. So I'm looking at the prices here. I'm looking at 4161 23rd Street. It sold for 1090. So what would you offer for 600 Alvarado? Anybody on the call? Tell me what you would offer. Pay, what's your offer price? Ebony, what's your offer price? Sorry, guys. Maybe you can't find the unmute button. What's your offer price, Pay?
Offer price for which property?
600 Alvarado. $600 Alvarado, the one that's active.
Is it a townhouse or?
It's a condo. All these are set up correctly already. So these are all condos and TICs. So if I gave you this
800?
worksheet just like this, and you're my buyer, so I ask my buyer and say, well, okay, these are the sales in the area. What do you think we should offer? So you pretend you're my buyer. What would you say? What would the price be?
$850?
Yeah, it's currently listed for 850. See, the thing here is that these numbers here are misleading right here. These units above it, they don't have square feet. So you actually don't know what size these are. Okay. So for practical purposes, ignore them. Okay. So the only data that you have that's real data is the 744 square feet, and that's the 1090 price. Okay. So when you have to look at when it's sold for in October. Okay. You do need to go look inside to see what the condition is, right? So you want to find the perfect condition house and then subtract backwards from it. So this house here looks, I mean, this condo here looks pretty good. Look at the kitchen. Looks pretty good. Looks like quartz countertop, new cabinet, painted cabinets. Okay, painted. That looks good. You know, hardwood floor. This looks pretty good. Okay. So my suggestion to the buyer was to, okay, then now it's defaulted view again. Click on square feet to sort it. And my suggestion to the buyer was it's probably going to go over, probably going to be a 1.1 price. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the actual condo again. Okay, let's read the notes. Unit 2, approximately 949 square feet. And that's market. That's marketing language. So you need to learn to filter the words out properly. Okay, it's 694 square feet of interior living space, 265 square feet of deeded walkout deck and chef garden. The 265 square feet of deeded walkout deck, you cannot live on the deck. So you can't count that as interior living space. However, there is value to that. So should it be higher than the 1.1? It might be higher than the 1.1 because the square foot of the interior space was already 1.1. You have to add for the deck and the garden. Okay. Also, when you look at listings, there's always a history button too. And in over here in Paragon, there's also a history button. But in this case, we're going to show you the San Francisco history button. History button is right here. And it's right here. It says that it's been listed right there. So in this case, this is the first time this unit was being sold. But I was actually doing different. I was doing a search differently, and I was actually doing it like this. Also, I searched on the address because I wanted to get the data real quick. 600 Alvarado. And I find out that there were this. Okay. I knew I had to figure it out, sort this out, but now I got the data quicker because I had to answer the question. I have HSL, which means single family house, and I have CNDO. Okay. And CNDO. Okay. So these are all condo prices right here. You go back and say, well, look, unit 3 sold for 1.1. Unit 1 sold for 1.1. You can see that right here. Okay, all by the same agent. So this agent listed 825 and got a 1.1. This agent listed for 810 and got a 1.1. That was in August. And comparing today's market to August market, it's just as hot today, if not hotter today than it was in August. So the 1.1 was price seems very reasonable because the seller for this unit is going to say, well, the other two units sold for 1.1. I understand that unit 2 is only 694 square feet. It's not a whole lot smaller, but it also has got that deck. So I think they probably got the 1.1 or the 1.125, even though it's listed for 850. Does that mean they got 200 over asking? Yeah, they mean they got 200 over asking. But does that mean they got 200 over appraised value? No, it just means they got their value. Okay. All right. Market is changing. Interest rates are increasing. I've seen posts saying that the interest rate is increasing. This is going to slow down the housing market pretty soon. We were seeing 3% interest rates, and they're pushing up to the 4%. Some of the buyers are going to say, wow, that's a lot more money. So that means an extra $200 per month payment for some people. And that's something that they can't afford. They already can't afford to stretch. Now they have to stretch more for the extra interest. So either the prices are going to come down or people are going to drop out of the market altogether. So hang on, just do your best, work with your buyers, work with your sellers, educate them. And we're in for some bumpy rides this year. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go finish up this write-up. Okay. That's a very important note too. Call pending listings. In this case, there no, not this screen. So going back to this screen here, you see that there's pendings, the blue marks. Okay, I mean the purple ones. Call them and find out what their pending prices are. If you don't know, if you don't have enough information, you just go call them. Okay, and say, hey, can you share with me your pending price because I want to get more information. Okay, so let's do this one. I want to make this one bigger now because it's the main thing. Oops. Okay, so when you're looking at this spreadsheet and you're trying to price things out, call your pendings and ask them, hey, I'm trying to make an offer on this house over here. And congratulations on your pending. Do you mind if you can share with me your pending price so I can share with my client how to offer properly? Okay. Be polite. They don't have to share the data with you. So just be polite. And in this case, this chart, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pendings. So call them and say, hey, how was traffic? Did you have a lot of people come see the house? How many offers did you receive? Did you go over $1 million? Did you go over 1.2? They're not going to, some of them won't tell you exactly, and they're not required to. Okay. They represent their own client and they have to protect their client. Okay. Think like a buyer. So if you're making an offer on one of these green ones, you have all these other choices too. Okay. So when you think like that, well, could somebody offer on something else? So interesting that I have this now, because in this case, there's so many listings. This was December 2020, 2019. Okay. Just before pandemic. That's the reason why there were so many actives. Today, there's no actives. Take a look at this. 3232 Carpenter San Ramon. This is called insane, right? 13,000 views, 344 favorites, and 15 X outs. This was nuts. Okay. It was like they ended up with 27 offers. Okay. So if you see something like this, you know it's a super hot house. I don't have to necessarily go see it, but I can have a very good sense of it. Okay. Think about, okay, this is very interesting. I have a thing called Costco test. So if you go see a property and it fails the Costco test, it's probably not going to be very popular. Costco test is, imagine you're going shopping at Costco, you bought a pallet of water. Now you got to bring it to your kitchen. Now, how difficult is it to bring the pallet of water to your kitchen? So if your garage is on the first floor and you've got to go up 2 floors to go to your kitchen level, that's probably not a very pleasant walk every single time you go to Costco. Okay. I sold a townhouse in Hayward and it fixed the Costco problem by having a dumbwaiter in from the garage, and it brought the groceries directly to the kitchen. Okay. Take a look at this one here. 11,000 views and 54 favorites and 20 X outs. This is a terrible house. Nobody likes this. Okay. Yeah, you've got a lot of views. Not many people like it. And you have equally many people who put an X out. This is not a very popular property. Okay. There's no perfect comparable. You got to look at between 6 to 12 months back if you have to. Quarter mile preferred, half mile less preferred, 1 mile less preferred. Okay. Adjust for your sizes. All right. When you're pricing for the market, you got to go ahead and round down. So if my target price is $1 million or $1,075,000, or could just go round down, $899. Okay, then you'll end up with a higher price, because if you start too high, your buyers are going to have to, and it doesn't sell, buyers are going to say, what's wrong with the property? Okay, buyers already expect to overbid. So let's help them feel less bad by starting the price lower. Okay. Oh yeah, and let's say you happen to want to offer in without MLS access. Let's say you have a random property in, let's go here. Let's pick a market. And I don't have MLS over here. So you're gonna like say, okay, well, what's the price of this property? Yeah, that's nice. And when you don't have MLS, you kind of have to rely. Okay, I see there's tennis courts in the back of the windows. You have to start to learn how to read the pictures. So that could be noisy out there. Your ground level means people can come into your backyard. See what else is going on. It's funny, there's snow here. Hopefully you don't mind snow. Don't forget, the photos are meant for marketing. It is meant to bring the buyer into the property. This is a recently renovated property. This is not a stone countertop. This is a laminate countertop. These look like old cabinets that have new hardware. That looks like corrugated steel wall, which is kind of funny. It might be okay in the neighborhood. You have like office rugs here, like that low loop kind of thing. Okay, anyways, that you've seen that. So now let's take a quick look at the comparables. Oh, okay. It's next to the lake. This is very good. How do you do comparables without MLS? You'd have to look down here. Look at the activity, 320. Mind you, this is not like 13,000 in the Bay Area. 320 is pretty good. Okay. This is where the sold data comes from. So you can see that a 1,100 square foot property sold for 450. But when did this get sold? This was sold in October. Okay, 460 for 1442. Okay, this looks like a better deal. It's bigger, and they only paid 10,000 more for it. Okay, so there's not enough comps in this area, but you get the idea. So it seems like 450, 460 seems like a reasonable price. So you look back here, 450 seems reasonable. Okay, so it's probably a more balanced market, not as crazy aggressive like the Bay Area, where you got to overbid by 10, 50, or $100,000. So you could probably offer the list price and you'll probably get it. You might be able to go 460, 465 just because of the condition. It looks pretty good. All right, any questions? Wrapping up.
Very good. Learn a lot. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.